Florida State will accept the opening kick. Jalen Ramsey and Kermit Whitfield back deep for the Seminoles. Whitfield, remember, mostly known for his 100-yard kickoff return against Auburn in the national title game in 2013 when they won it all. This time through the back of the end zone and back out to the 25-yard line. First down and 10 from there. Everett Golson, the starting quarterback for the Seminoles, completing 67% of his passes on the season. Amazingly, not the 11 touchdowns he's thrown, but the fact, folks, look at the bottom line. 0 turnovers. This from a guy that last year committed 22 while playing for Notre Dame.
Jonesy, he has matured, grown up, gotten hugged up, loved up, and he seems very comfortable in a Florida State uniform.
First and 10 from the 25. Cook right behind the quarterback, and he takes the handoff on first and 10 and out past the 30 for a gain of about 6 on the play. Brought down by Jamal Golden. He leads the ACC in rushing, second nationally, as my partner said just a moment ago. Last time against Georgia Tech in the ACC title game last year, he ran for 177 yards, so he doesn't mind seeing those Georgia Tech helmets on the other side. Little bootleg action, the pass complete. And tackled immediately is Freddie Stevenson. That's going to be a loss of a few yards. Sets up a third down and 8 to go. Good pressure up front.
Yeah, Jonesy,
for McCordis.
Good pressure, and that's the word on third down for Georgia Tech defensively. They like to bring pressure. Florida State is aware of it. They've got speedy receivers on the outside. They'll try and hit them if they get the pressure coming.
Loss of 4 on the last play. Florida State is trying to shake the habit of slow starts, especially in the first half. Golson completes it. Cook made a nice shake, took a little contact and stopped up. Boy, really close to that first down marker. He had to get to the 35. They're spotting it just short of that by a foot. Griffin making the stop along with Gray.
Good defensive stop for Georgia Tech. And Jonesy, you saw a little difference there with Golson. A check down throw instead of forcing the ball down the field, letting Cook do his thing, and it almost worked out. But a good tackle, good stop by Georgia Tech defensively.
Jason Beatty coming into punt to Jamal Golden back there. Beatty averaging 42.5 yards per punt on the season. Looking at his own 25, a high moonshot of a spiral all the way back at the 14-yard line, and great coverage on the punt by the Seminoles. A 51-yard punt, nothing on the return, and Gabbard making a great tackle downfield. First down and 10 now for Georgia Tech, led by quarterback Justin Thomas, who's completing just 44% of his passes on the season. He's thrown 10 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. And a little bit of a struggle for him in the offensive unit. Get our first look at option football. Toss to Lance Davis. And Mikel Lance Davis brought down after a gain of a few. Got about 6 on the play.
You mentioned Thomas as the guy who runs the option. I call him the magician. If you never know where that football is going to be, the way he handles it.
Up at the line quickly on 2nd and 4. Of course, when you talk about option football, you talk about assignment football on the other side of the ledger defensively. The word eye discipline has been used a lot this week on the toss, and they limit that to little or no gain on the play. Isaiah Willis brought down. Third down coming up now for Georgia Tech.
Well, that was the third part of the option. There's the initial one inside. Fullback Marshall doesn't get anywhere. Quarterback Thomas puts it on the outside. And good speed by Florida State chased that down.
Well, Derek Hoskins making the tackle on the play. 3rd and 3. And the toss are going to get the first down. That's Clinton Lynch. Over the 200-yard mark now in the season with that carry. And 1st and 10 for Georgia Tech. Gain of 8 on the play. Short gain by Thomas on the play of 4. All right, thanks a lot for those of you who are watching Oklahoma and Texas Tech here in Atlanta. Zeros on the scoreboard. Georgia Tech with its first offensive possession of the ball game after a 3-and-out by Florida State. Seminoles coming into this game with a record of 6-0, looking for the 29th consecutive win against a conference opponent. Georgia Tech trying to snap that 5-game losing streak, and well defended that time by Florida State, and Roderick Hoskins making the stop on Mikel Lance-Davis. As we take a look at our prominent storylines coming in this ball game, Florida State at number 9 overall, 6-0, trying to shake those slow starts they've been having. But boy, you can't point the finger of fault. Dalvin Cook approaching 1,000 yards rushing on the season, 2nd overall in the country. Georgia Tech, for a host of reasons, in the midst of a malaise right now on a 5-game losing streak. At times, their coach Paul Johnson says they haven't been able to get out of their own way. On the screen, batted up and intercepted. What a play by Josh Sweat. He tipped it, he caught it, he did it all. 1st and 10 the other way for Florida State.
Jonesy and his teammates call him a freak. He's a freshman, 6'5", 237 pounds. He's long and lean and athletic, leads the team and pressures on the quarterback, and this is just another athletic play. Pops it in the air with his right hand and has the presence to find it and think about getting into the end zone. Man.
Florida State with a lot of great athletes on defense. Do you take a shot here into the end zone on 1st and 10?
Yeah, why not?
Strike.
Why not?
Let's go. Everett Golson, 2nd series, hands it off to Dalvin Cook. That's as good as taking a shot. Cook, 1st and goal, Florida State from the 3. That's about as good a shot as any, right?
Tell me about it. Cook is so explosive and quick. He gets to the edge in a hurry. So good block by the tackle, opening up a huge hole there, but he quickly gets in and out of that hole.
A gain of 17 as he approaches 1,000 yards on the season. Came in needing 45. Cook in the backfield beside the Notre Dame transfer, Everett Golson. Cook again, this time everybody keying on him, and he stopped up about a yard short of the line of scrimmage. Freeman making the tackle, no gain. So 2nd and goal coming up.
Down here, Jonesy.
For those of you just joining us, looking at 2nd goal for the Seminoles after the interception. And a Dalvin Cook run. Zeros on the scoreboard. I'm Mark Jones alongside Rob Gilmore. Quinn Kesnick down in the field. Seminoles looking for their 29th consecutive win against conference opponents. Cook trying to score. They string it out nicely, and Cook put his hat down and got back to the line of scrimmage. Ruchungan making the stop that time. And it's 3rd and goal.
How about the Georgia Tech defense down here using their speed, bringing pressure? That's Ted Roof, the defensive coordinator, playing on those tendencies, knowing that Cook's going to get the ball down here. But now, Jonesy, with a 3rd down here, you've got an athletic quarterback. Everett Golson can put pressure on a defense if you roll him out down here.
And he's made a lot of right decisions this year, Rod. No turnovers against 11 touchdown passes. In comparison to the 22 we had last year at Notre Dame. A whistle, and Jimbo Fisher literally ran onto the field to call timeout.
He's down at the 20-yard line. He sprinted out there from the coaching box. Wow.
Well, I'm guessing that Jimbo Fisher's hamstring is okay, even if his star tailback Dalvin Cook's isn't, the way that he sprinted onto that field. 3rd and goal.
30-second timeout.
And Cook nursing that sore hammy, but Quinn-Kessenich, they've been managing it very well.
Yeah, last 3 weeks, if you're following Florida State, Dalvin Cook has pulled up in the last 3 games with an injured left hamstring. It started against Wake Forest on a little pass to the flat. Again against Miami, and then last week twice against Louisville. They have really rationed his time in practice. He only practices twice a week on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I'll tell you this, though. In the warm-ups today, he looks fast and symptom-free.
Great job, Quint. He looked good on that first series as well. 3rd and goal. Golson into the end zone. Caught. Out of bounds, though. Incomplete to Rudolph. Couldn't get a foot in bounds working against Steph Durham.
2 officials right on the spot there. Both said he was out of bounds. There's the ball. Left foot out. Looks like that right foot isn't down as his left foot is out of bounds. Very close there. Now from this angle, does he have control? That ball moves up. I think that's a good call on the field.
Yep. In comes Roberto Aguayo. 19 of 21 Florida State in the red zone. Aguayo, this one from 20 yards out. And he gets it inside that right upright. Aguayo, 9 of 11 coming into the game. That's his 10th field goal of the year. The Seminoles on the board off that turnover. More from Atlanta when we come back. Welcome back, everyone, to Atlanta and Georgia Tech on homecoming weekend. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. I'm Mark Jones alongside Rod Gilmore, Quinn-Kessenich down in the field. Rod, who scheduled Florida State for homecoming?
And then double down and get a whiteout.
Come on, man.
I mean, don't you schedule the team that's a patsy that you know you're going to route for homecoming? You're like, give me the biggest, baddest team in the conference. Or one of the 2.
Yeah, if I'm Paul Johnson, I'm checking with the schedule guy. Kick goes out of the end zone. They come back out to the 25-yard line, 1st down and 10. Time for another timeout. Come on back. Florida State looking for its 29th state conference win.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Scion. Premium standard features that actually come standard. Weird, right? And Verizon. Better matters.
Gotta love college. Georgia Tech's Mini 500 race was a tradition that has been a central part of homecoming events since '69. The race derived from prank frats used in which pledges were forced to transport themselves around campus on those great tricycles. At least you got to trick those tricycles out a little bit. Put some rims on them. Look at some option football here. And gaining a few yards out to the 32 this time is Isaiah Willis. Gain of 7 on the play.
Option football, the shell game. Fullback with the ball? Nope. Quarterback keeping it? Nope. 3rd option.
2nd down and 3. Justin Thomas, the orchestrator of this triple option offense. 5'11" junior. Gave it, no, he didn't give it to the dive man. They gave it to Isaiah Willis. And he picks up the 1st down. Rod, eye discipline is a term we've heard a lot this week. Eye discipline, eye discipline.
Well, you can't watch the ball. You got to watch who is the guy ultimately in your area. If you've got the fullback, go get the fullback. And that's what they did. Went and got the fullback. You get stuck looking at the football, you miss the right guy.
1st down and 10 after the 9-yard gain. Thomas on the pitch. Tackle at the 47 on Lynch.
What's happening right now, Jonesy, is that Florida State has committed to taking away the 1st option. The B-back, the fullback inside. They are coming downhill fast, tackling him, making sure he doesn't get the ball. And Thomas is saying, fine, I got 2 more options. I can keep it or I can pitch it to the outside.
That's why we're seeing the pitch man quite frequently here. 2nd and 5 coming up. Willis keeps it and pivots. Little backside pressure coming, and they make the tackle on him at the 47-yard line, right near the line of scrimmage. May have gained 1 on the play.
That play is the changeup to the triple option. Triple option is the fastball. That counter is the changeup. So when they see the defense really jumping on the triple option, they come back with a little changeup, counter, go the other way.
Third and 5. Marcus Marshall in the backfield. Had a big week last week on the pitch. Thomas finds his man for the first down. Out to the 40, it's Isaiah Willis. Well, Rod, you said it's pretty much like, you can call it 3-card Monte, you can call it a shell game. It's like, where is it? Where is the ball?
Yeah.
Under that one? No?
There it is. Yeah, and the same thing with the option. Where's the ball? Fullback. Does he have it? Okay, I'm following the fullback. No, he doesn't have it. Quarterback's got it. Let's get the quarterback. No, it's the third shell to the outside. And that's what's happening right now in Florida State. They're seeing this shell game.
So that's why you defensive backs break out in cold sweats when you hear you're going to play an option team. A 14-yard gain by Willis. First and 10 from the 40. This time, Justin Thomas got whacked by DeMarcus Walker, and a loss on the play of 2 as we go downstairs to Quint.
Yeah, Paul Johnson felt that Florida State would try to take 2 defensive tackles and absorb both his guards and the center, allowing their Mike linebacker, 18, Hoskins, to roam free. Hoskins on that prior play just missed the tackle. He took a bad angle.
Yeah, Quinn, he is a big-time player for them. They have him covering the perimeter on each side, and Georgia Tech wants to cut him off.
From the vantage point of Hoskins, here's Marshall. Marshall had a big week last week, albeit in that loss against Pitt. He ran 10 times for 159 yards. Got a few there.
Well, here's Marshall in the middle of your screen. You see that they bring a lineman out to try and get him. He avoids that and makes a tackle on Marshall. That's the game, the cat and mouse game, the entire evening for him, is avoiding those linemen and being in position to make tackles.
3rd and 6, Rod. They've run it all 7 times, all 7 plays on this drive.
And I think they should again. They are in 2-down territory. They can run it twice down here. They're not a great passing team.
Yeah, Justin Thomas has completed just 44% of his passes on the season. And irate, perturbed head coach Paul Johnson will make the call when we come back. Interesting chess match going on between Paul Johnson, who calls the plays, and Charles Kelly, the defensive coordinator for Florida State. And recently, Johnson had his quarterback Thomas looking over at him a little bit more. Made that change, right?
Well, Kelly worked for Johnson for a long time. They know each other, so Johnson knows Kelly knows his offense, and Kelly knows
that he knows his offense.
He knows. So you don't want to outthink yourself or something like that.
Who knows? 3rd and 6. Backside heat. Thomas going to throw it and overshoots his man out of bounds, intended for Michael Summers. So it'll be 4th down coming up.
See, I think that was an example of trying to outthink your old buddy. You know, yeah, they met before the ball game. They have this history. Kelly says he absolutely loves Johnson, that he meant everything to his career. But he says, I know him and I know his offense. And I think throwing that ball on 3rd down was a product of that. I think otherwise you run it, you know, a couple times with your option and maybe you pick it up. But this is a long field goal attempt.
Yeah, Butker going to try this one, Rod, from 53 yards. That would tie his career long. Get the snap down. And he knocks it through from 53. Harrison Butker, who was just 4 of 7 on the season coming in, gives this team a little bit of a boost, and that's something that they really need, Rod, when you consider the fact that, yeah, they've lost 5 straight games, but they've been having a lot of near misses, and that time the game of inches in their favor.
The inches are everywhere. You got to make sure that you get some of them on your side, and they just picked up a couple to tie this game up 3-all. But you're right. The one game Georgia Tech was never in, Clemson. Other than that, they had a chance. And Paul Johnson said his team could easily be 5-2.
Yeah, when you look at their losses and their opponents, he was quick to point out that at their 2-5 record, their last 6 opponents are combined 33-4. So on homecoming weekend here at Georgia Tech, they cash in with a 53-yard field goal, capping that 9-play, 39-yard drive. And this will come out to the 25-yard line. Well, Monday Night Football on ESPN, a shootout in the Arizona desert. Joe Flacco and the Ravens going up against NFC West leading Cardinals. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6. Also streaming live on Watch ESPN. So 1st and 10 for Florida State from the 25-yard line. And boy, what a great story this year Everett Golson has been after all of his struggles last year at Notre Dame. 22 turnovers, 14 interceptions, 8 fumbles. This year has not had one.
Hey, I've got a theory about that.
Can't wait to hear it after this play. 1st and 10. It's Dalvin Cook. And Cook stopped up for a gain of about 2. So what's your theory on the turnovers or lack thereof?
Well, I just think quarterbacks are a different breed. And it almost takes a quarterback to know a quarterback. And Jimbo Fisher was a quarterback. He's been an offensive coordinator his entire life and a head coach, still runs the offense. He's produced 10 draft picks at quarterback and 4 first-round picks. He knows quarterbacks. He feels quarterbacks.
Golson, flag down. Golson completes it to Cook, who got rocked at the 23.
Did he throw that left-handed?
I'm not sure. He got rid of it, though. That was pretty sweet. There's some pressure up front by Gotsis and Antonio Simmons. Here's the call.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Offsides, defense number 93. Holding, offense number 74. Those penalties all set. Replay the down.
So we're going to do this one over.
Watch this. Are you kidding me? He threw that left-handed.
A spiral, too.
Oh, man. He didn't have time to find the laces or anything. Oh, that is Studley.
He has been making great decisions, Rod, as you intimated a moment ago.
Well, I agree. I just think it takes a quarterback to understand. I think Fisher's a little bit of a quarterback whisperer.
Yeah.
You know, with all due respect to Brian Kelly, which means I can say anything I want.
Fisher is quick to point out that it's Golson that deserves all the credit. Taking a shot downfield, overshot his man who was open. That was Bobo Wilson. And Golson wishing he had that one back.
Yeah, that's the matchup they wanted. They like single coverage against their receivers. They believe, Florida State does, that they have a huge speed advantage. And they just missed that one.
Now, Bobo Wilson had 24 catches coming into this game tonight. 3rd and long for Florida State. Golson complete to the 41-yard line. He goes right back to Wilson, who moves the chains on the 14-yard reception. He was working against Step Durham on the play.
Young offensive line gave Golson plenty of time. He's got a great supporting cast around him. He no longer feels the pressure of having to make every play himself.
That offensive line coming into the season only had 5 starts combined. Cook picks it up off the fumble. It's not the way they drew it up, folks. It's going to be a loss back to the 34-yard line. A little bit sloppy in their execution, resulting in a 7-yard loss.
Well, Golson says it was a bad snap. He thought it was a little bit to the right that he wasn't expecting, like he was planning on moving to the left. When the play ended, he went to his center and said, hey, a little bit back to the middle a little bit more. That's Hofield, number 59, who is playing with his right hand really taped, really wrapped up, and I wonder if that had a little impact on it.
This offensive line had a lot of miscues last week in their win. A lot of offside penalties. Golson a little loose with that ball and sacked back at the 32 by Adam Gotsis. He's the guy who might be their most dynamic up front. 96 right there. An incredible athlete, just 6% body fat, and folks, he's been in the gym. His 3rd sack of the season, and a good way to punctuate the end of the first quarter for Georgia Tech.
ESPN, home of the college football playoff.
Under the lights here at Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia Tech, and we're knotted at 3. Florida State coming in 6-0. Georgia Tech 2-5, trying to snap that 5-game losing streak. Florida State, as has been the custom too often for their head coach Jimbo Fisher, a little bit underwhelming in the first quarter. Colson back to pass. Down the middle of the field. Incomplete. Batted away by Jamal Golden at the very last moment possible. And it's 4th down coming up. Travis Rudolph was the intended receiver.
Hey, partner, we've got homecoming, a whiteout. This crowd has been stirred up, and, you know, you stir up a hornet's nest. You never know who might get stung.
I mean, a little bit of a trap game with maybe Clemson looming out there a little bit for Florida State.
I would not put that past Florida State in this situation.
Beatty with the punt. Directional kicks it down to the 16. Golden, who just broke up that last pass. Brought down at the 24-yard line. Will it be 1st down and 10? A 52-yard punt, 9 on the return. Let's take a look at tonight's impact players. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
Well, a couple of running backs. We talked about Cook all night, a guy who was firmly in the Heisman race, an outstanding player. Marcus Marshall, on the other hand, his 2nd start, true freshman, had a huge game last week. 10 carries, 159 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's in for Patrick Stove, the transfer from Stanford, who's banged up.
On the toss into the boundary, Clinton Lynch picks up about 4 as we go back to Chris in the studio. Chris, what's up?
Well, I've got a Taco Bell studio update for you. LSU out of conference, taking on Western Kentucky. No Leonard Fournette here. He is playing, but he hasn't scored yet. It's Brandon Harris to Malachi Dupree. 55 yards in the rain. 7-0 near the end of the first. Mark and Rock.
So we have Brandon Harris showing the ability to throw the ball a little bit. That makes them very lethal on offense.
Yep, he does.
2nd and 5. Hit the pitch man again. And a 1st down as Clinton Lynch gives us some yards after contact. And a 1st and 10 coming up. How's Georgia Tech winning the battle right now, or the shell game, Rod, with this triple option?
Well, I think Florida State's getting what they want. They're taking away the fullback, but Paul Johnson is so good at adjusting. They're really getting to the outside and getting the pitch involved right now. And he's waiting for Florida State to adjust to that so he can come back and hit him inside.
1st down and 10. They give it to the dive man this time. That's Marcus Marshall. Johnson told us in our meetings he was looking for ways to try and get the ball to number 34 a little bit more frequently. The 5'10" freshman out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Coming off a big week, a lot more confidence, more emboldened after last week's game. A pickup of 4. See him looking over the sidelines. Give it to Marshall again. And this time brought down at the 44-yard line. Picked up 1 on the play. Chris Kasher making the tackle.
Hey, Jonesy, I want you to take a look at what Florida State is doing to try to deal with the option. That's Hoskins. He's the middle linebacker. He's about 7.5 yards deep. He's getting back there so he can read without getting caught up inside, and he can avoid the linemen. He's getting to the perimeter to deal with the quarterback and the pitch man. He is a key to what Florida State's trying to do defensively.
Already made a couple of plays. Georgia Tech has run 15 of the 18 plays they've had. Play clock winding down.
Second.
And they call timeout before it expires.
Georgia Tech.
And we're going to take one with them.
Full timeout.
Back with more after this. Well, tonight at 10:30 on ESPN, we've got Washington at number 10, Stanford, in a Pac-12 tilt. Kevin Hogan and Christian McCaffrey lead the Cardinal against the Huskies in Stanford. Hey, McCaffrey really tore up from the floor up on UCLA last week.
Well, he
243 yards.
Yeah, he put himself firmly in the Heisman race.
Crazy speed. 3rd and 5 here for Georgia Tech. See what they do coming out of that timeout a moment ago.
There seems to be some confusion.
4 on the play clock. They'll go to pass. And that's picked off. That play imploded from the beginning. Brutus with the pick. High stepping it down the sideline. Touchdown, Knowles. Oh, they're going to mark it at the 2. The official put his hand up on the near side. And that never looked good for Georgia Tech right from the opening of that play.
You know, Jonesy, you're right. I think coming out of that timeout, they were completely confused. Take a look. There's one player who has no idea what he's doing. He just stands still. This ball was also thrown by Thomas completely off his back foot. Had no shot at it. Brutus was right there reading it the entire way. That play never had a chance.
And here's one more look as he tiptoed down the sideline. Yeah, he clearly stepped out of bounds.
Yep, left foot was out at about the 2.
Yeah, one of the officials on the near side of the field seemed to indicate touchdown. 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. The 2nd turnover of the night caused by that Seminole defense. Nathan Saunders, the big tight end, is checked into the ball game. He's a huge target at 6'5". They give it to Cook, and Cook tiptoes between the tackles for a touchdown. The nimble-footed tailback puts the first touchdown on the board of the night. And that's his 11th one of the season.
He's 6 feet tall, about 208 pounds, 206 pounds. And he can find his way delicately in and out of a hole. He can run by you. He can run over you.
Amen is the number 2 rusher in the country behind Leonard Fournette. Dalvin Cook just starting to get warmed up. And it's like my dad used to say, you can't cook with cold grease. And he's hot, folks.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Dr. Pepper and College Football. It's a one-of-a-kind tradition. And Buick, proud partner of the NCAA.
Well, the Georgia Tech whistle is a steam whistle near the Tech Tower dating back to the 1890s. Blowing of the whistle occurs 5 minutes before every hour and after touchdowns during home games. So the hope is that our guy there, Miguel Zarate, in the tower is pulling on that whistle and making that thing make some noise.
No whistles on field goals?
No. TDs only. This one out the back of the end zone as we go back to Chris in the studio.
It's a Dr. Pepper Championship update over on ESPN. The only ranked-on-ranked game of the weekend, Ole Miss and A&M. And look at Chad Kelly. Ooh, not supposed to do that. Throwing late over the middle across his body, but Ole Miss is up 7-0. They control their own destiny in the SEC West, guys.
Chad Kelly throwing over the middle. You know what we say about the middle.
The middle is filled with darkness and fear. Something like that. You know, you're gonna
and full of terror.
You're gonna guilt me into buying the DVDs of that series, man. Game of Thrones. Gonna have to download it after the game tonight. 1st and 10. More option. They give it to the dive man, Marcus Marshall. You get the feeling,
Marshall carries the ball,
Rod, that statistically, I mean, Georgia Tech has been able to move the ball pretty well on the ground, but not quite reflected on the scoreboard.
10 points off turnovers, 2 picks, and you mentioned at the top 44% passing percentage for Georgia Tech, and those third down situations have not been good. They've got to stay out of the long passing situations.
2nd and 7. You saw head coach Paul Johnson there. He was telling us earlier that at times we've been our own worst enemy. They've had a host of injuries that haven't helped either. Thomas, though, putting the hurt on Florida State and running for the first down.
You know, Jonesy, you can't make tackles when you're on the ground. And Georgia Tech, like any option team, they do a lot of cut blocking. They dive at your knees, and they get you on the ground. And it happened on that last play. Florida State, they've got to use their hands and avoid being cut blocked.
1st and 10. Thomas looking over at Johnson on the sidelines. Gives it to the pitch man, but well diagnosed on defense by Reggie Northrup. Makes the tackle on Lance Davis, no gain. Downstairs to Quint.
Jonesy, that is legal cut blocking. And the 2 areas, if you're a fan at home where you want to watch, on the back side of each play. So let's say that last play, Thomas pitched it to his right. The left side of the line will scoop out. They'll cut block the guard and the tackle, Florida State's defensive lineman. And Rod mentioned on the perimeter, that's where it's most unique, especially where they bring that A back on his long arc. And they like to cut out in the perimeter, which is very difficult for corners and safeties.
You said it, it's a little bit unique to Georgia Tech at times. Thomas falls down right near the line of scrimmage, no gain.
Well, Quint knows. That's why I hate the option. I mean, some of my worst days in college.
How bad was it?
Oh,
really?
God,
how bad was it?
Hated it. I mean, just watch this. There is a dive, cut block. You get one guy down. You got others on the other side trying to get guys
Perfectly legal,
down.
though, right?
Perfectly legal. Just a pain to deal with. You're worried about your knees. You're worried about injuries. All that kind of stuff. It makes you take your eyes away from what you're supposed to do, and you're looking down at the guy to try to keep him off your knees. I still see Oklahoma and Thomas Lott and Billy Sims and David Overstreet.
As if you didn't have those guys to worry about, too, right?
Army did it to us, too, man.
On 3rd and 10, they're going to try and throw it here. Thomas slinging. His receiver coming back to make the catch, but it's out of bounds, incomplete. Ricky June juggled it.
Yeah, and he was working against arguably the best corner in college football. Jalen Ramsey all over that, and you see the juggle, no possession until he's out of bounds. That's a good call, and that's good competition by Ramsey. And we've seen some good corners. Yeah. I mean, I like Hargraves over at Florida, but I think the scouts are going to like him better because he is a big corner. 6'1", 200 pounds. You don't find a lot of guys like that.
And not only that, but Ramsey got a whistle down to the field. Ramsey right there talked about his athletic gifts. Also a 27-foot long jumper.
What?
So, yeah, I don't want my track and field friends to get mad at me by saying he's a world-class long jumper, but 27 feet, that qualifies.
Huh.
You know, Doc Patton got on me last week when I said a guy had world-class speed. This is world-class long jumping and world-class DBing as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about that long jump stuff, but I know a corner who can close, and he can close, and he knows how to finish. He gets his hand in there to make a play. He's got those long arms. When you find a corner who's 6'1", that fast, that explosive, you can line him up against the big old wide receivers they have up in that other league.
Yeah, and Ramsey a little bit more of a leader now with Hunter and Marshall both out with injuries. Trey Marshall out for the rest of the year with a torn biceps. Here's the call.
You know, Jonesy, before the game, we were down on the field. Quint's been down there. Quint's been hanging out with some of the 7 scouts who were here to see players like Ramsey, or I guess there are a few other Florida State players you could scout tonight.
They got a bunch of guys. Bobo Wilson back with his punt. And Ryan Rodwell. Wilson breaks one tackle, then got hit and brought down at the 24. It'll be 1st and 10 from there after the 39-yard punt. Everett Golson trying to make things happen when we come back. Get ready for NFL Sunday. First, it's NFL Insider's Sunday edition with the latest news and breaking stories at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Then at 11, it's Sunday NFL Countdown with Boomer and the gang right up to kickoff. It all starts Sunday at 10 a.m. on ESPN. First down and 10 for the Seminoles. I'm Mark Jones, chopping it up here in Atlanta with Rodney Gilmore and Quint Kessenich. Dalvin Cook still trying to get that motor running. 28 yards rushing so far. Olsen off the play fake. Complete through a dart to Kermit Whitfield, who's having an outstanding year, especially in the last two games for the Seminoles.
Well, he's no longer just a kick returner. Once again, you see the great protection that young offensive line gives Golson, and just a dart to Whitfield, who had, what, a big game last week with 9 catches. The week before that, another 9 catches. He's really come on.
First down and 10. Dalvin Cook hits the edge, cuts it up. And Cook with a nice first down run to the 43-yard line. Got a nice block up front by Hofeld as we go down to Quint.
And Jimbo Fisher really felt he could have success running behind his big left tackle, Roderick Johnson. 6'7", 323. He's only a sophomore. He's got about a half a foot and 83 pounds advantage on the smallish Georgia Tech defensive end. And that's the first time we've seen Cook be able to bounce one to the outside.
Yeah, when you're calling an opponent small and he's 250, that's an advantage. Here's Cook with a sweet cutback. And Cook's forward progress puts Florida State right on the edge of field goal range.
You know, Jonesy, Q makes a good point about that matchup. Keyshawn Freeman, who was facing Johnson over there, is 6'1" and about 235, 240 pounds. And he's going up against that monster of a man. That's not a lot of fun. So you expect Florida State to keep pounding over there. Georgia Tech is trying to help Freeman by bringing in some linebackers, bringing in the safety to kind of shore up that edge.
2nd and 6. Florida State lining up out of the eye. They toss it to Cook. That turbo kicks in, and Cook with a nice gain to the 28-yard line. He's just gone over 1,000 yards rushing for the season on that run, and over 2,000 yards in his career. All this from a guy that from very humble beginnings, you know, big 5-star recruit from Miami Central High School in Miami, Florida, a former teammate of Joe Yearby, who's at the University of Miami right now. The two of them played together. Boy, what a backfield that was.
Yeah, and Miami couldn't get him, huh?
He was highly recruited, initially committed to the University of Florida. And Cook getting another opportunity here. A flag down on the play.
I think we got a hold over there, right in front of the official, a reach and a grab.
Holding, offense, number 81. 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's against Ryan Izzo, the tight end.
Yeah, he had the misfortune of being right in front of the official and right in front of Cook. No way that was going to be missed. He just reached out to touch someone.
Got that flag thrown. Jimbo Fisher's team trying to rid itself of some of the inconsistencies they've had of late. And interesting, he was telling us that his quarterback Golson now has probably about 30% more offense to work with than he did at the start of the season. So his playbook expanding. What a great pass, complete to Rudolph for the first down. Everett Golson took a shot too. He's still on his backside at the 44-yard line. They pick up 20 yards on the pass.
Well, people said he could not hang in the pocket and deliver the ball. That was one of the criticisms at Notre Dame. He is showing himself to be a pocket passer tonight. A little courage hanging in there, delivering that one when he takes a shot.
Rod, we talked about it a little bit earlier yesterday. Jimbo Fisher seems to be in a nice vibe with Golson as quarterback, as we have an injured Tech player down in the field. It's number 8, Step Durham. So as the athletic trainers tend to him, you know, you think about how Fisher had his quarterback Golson come in late because he didn't get in until June. But boy, the work that he's done with him in that short period of time really paying dividends here.
Yeah, as you take a look here, he's up on his feet now. I think he just kind of tweaked something. No contact. It's like he's grabbing the left hip or so with Wilson by him. But yeah, back to your point, I think you're absolutely right. He came in June, And again, with all due respect to Brian Kelly was a linebacker, a defensive coordinator, and quarterbacks are different. And I just think that Fisher gets quarterbacks. He's had so much experience with them, 4 first-round picks, 10 draft picks overall. He knows when to push a quarterback, how to gain their trust, how to gain their confidence, and all that. There you see what he's done. That's a pretty good resume for saying, I know how to deal with quarterbacks.
He says that he thinks Golson will have a chance to play on Sundays. And so will this guy, Dalvin Cook. Cook stopped up at the 11-yard line, gain of 3, more on Golson, down to Quint.
Yeah, you can see the connection between the quarterback and the head coach, Jimbo Fisher, the body language, and now they're speaking the same language. As you guys said, he showed up in June. What I'm seeing tonight is better intermediate throws where he's really been able to step in and drive those throws, and he's starting to understand the body language of his receivers, where they want it, what the timing's going to be. Dramatic improvement over the first 6 games.
Not to mention a lot of buy-in from Golson. Maybe that wasn't there when he was at Notre Dame.
On 2nd and 7, he's got number 4 back there, but Cook stopped up for a gain of 1 yard by Jamal Golden, the starting strong safety who makes the tackle on the play. You know, when your star player is really humble like Dalvin Cook, it really helps the team, and his humble beginnings go back to the days when he would come home from school and as a youth, 9, 10 years old, run down 95th Street and 27th Avenue to the car wash where his dad used to work and put in a shift of work with his father.
I kind of wish he were putting in a shift of work right now on 3rd down in the red zone here, but he's on the sideline. Yeah, I'd call a timeout because I'd like Cook to be on the field.
That hamstring, which Quint reported on, using that special system to keep track of the load, is holding up so far. Back after this. 10-3 ball game, a little over 4.5 to go, and moments before that timeout was called, this was the scene. Like you said, Jimbo wanted his guy out there, right?
3rd down and 6 in the red zone. I don't want Cook coming off the field, neither did Jimbo. It's like, hey, you stay out there. We need you out there on the field. That wasn't working. They went to the timeout.
4:28 to go. Third and 6. They got to get to the 4 for the first down. Cook to the left of Golson. Over the middle, incomplete. And behind his intended receiver, Bobo Wilson. So 4th down coming up, and Aguayo is going to come in.
Yeah, I think he missed that one. I think Golson had Cook in the flat. Give it to him in a one-on-one situation and let him see what he could. And I think that's what Jimbo is saying to him. Hey, just watch the upper left of your screen. Look at number 4.
Wide open.
Just give him the ball and let him do his thing. A lot of green, maybe 1 or 2 defenders he'd have to deal with, but that was the throw.
Look at Aguayo on field goals at 40 yards or less. Tonight already made one from 20 yards out. This one coming from 27. And he knocks it through. Florida State up 16, 13-3 when we come back. Monday Night Football on ESPN, a shootout in the Arizona Desert, folks. Joe Flacco and the Ravens going up against NFC West leading Arizona Cardinals. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 6, also streaming live on Watch ESPN. The lights here at Bobby Dodd Stadium, Georgia Tech. This stadium wedged in the middle of downtown Atlanta. Great atmosphere.
Cool. It's very cool, yeah. You kind of wonder, could they have shoehorned this thing in there, or did they build everything around it?
Homecoming weekend. Right now, Georgia Tech down 13-3. Lance Davis on the return, but there's a flag down back at the 11-yard line. Lance Davis out near midfield at the 49. Let's wait and see what this flag is all about. A 37-yard return, but will it stand? Our official's microphone obviously not working, but the indication that is coming back. .408 to go in the first half. You know, in fairness to Georgia Tech, when you start chronicling their struggles, you have to mention the fact that they've had 7 different players on offense injured, 4 different backs included. So attrition has been a big factor in their disappointing season so far. 1st and 10, fumble by Thomas. Hits the pitch man, maybe a bad decision. Florida had that well-read Derwin James accounting for the loss back at the 3-yard line. Brings down Willis.
That was perfectly read by the Florida State defense and helped by the fact that that ball was on the ground. Look at that hit. I mean, James, the freshman recruit, a big-time recruit, was all over that. He's a 2nd-rated free safety when he came out of high school. Joined the team in the spring and has solidified himself as a starter with some of the injuries that they've had in the secondary.
One of those good-looking guys back there, Rod. 6'3", 212 pounds. On 2nd and 12, Thomas eluding harm and making the throw down to the 35 to Ricky June.
Jones, I think that's his 2nd completed pass, which means he now has as many completions as picks for the night. But the presence here by Thomas to recognize he didn't have a whole lot of time to get that thing out of there, but he did.
Just inches away from giving up that safety, a 32-yard pickup on a catch by June. 1st and 10, they give it to Marshall. And he comes down to the 40-yard line, a gain of 4 on the play. Georgia Tech and Florida State each with a timeout remaining. Georgia Tech at least hoping to get into field goal range here. Thomas keeps it. Breaks a tackle on the loose. Justin Thomas just in time. Touchdown. A 60-yard burst into the end zone.
Watch Ramsey, number 8 from the backside, who runs him down but can't hang on. And then he's into the open after having a couple of good blocks on the outside. Nobody can catch Thomas. We got ourselves a ball game.
Boy, flag down on the play, and boy, what a big break and a big play for Georgia Tech. With time winding down here in the 1st half. The official's microphone still malfunctioning.
Yeah. Illegal substitution by Florida State. That was the signal for the infraction.
Coming back. That's what I'm talking about, boy.
And I believe that's just the 2nd rushing touchdown that Florida State has surrendered all year long, Rod. And correct. The first one over 30 yards allowed for them this season. So a night of firsts. 2:22 to go. Justin Thomas making things interesting.
I will forever bleed garnet and gold, and I will forever be here at heart.
Florida State is monumental in my academic and professional career, I think.
The professors are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life.
We've always known if we wanted to go to Florida State, we were going to go to Florida State.
FSU helped me so much by giving me all the resources that I could need to succeed.
An amazing experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
You're watching the ACC on ESPN on homecoming weekend here in Atlanta, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech coming in at 2-5 overall, 0-4 in conference play. You know, after the loss against North Carolina, Justin Thomas right there, his coach gassing him up on the sidelines. Thomas was in the dumps after that North Carolina loss when he fumbled at a critical time, but he has since bounced back. Meanwhile, Jalen Ramsey on double duty here, wears number 8 when he's their starting cornerback, and then on kickoff return jersey, jumps into the phone booth. Well, not quite a phone booth, Rod, but you know.
Remember, he missed that tackle, and now he's back out on the field, almost with a chance to return.
As we go back to the studio.
Chris Hassel coming up on the Outback halftime report. We'll tell you about a potentially huge loss for Baylor. They won the game, but may have lost a very important player. Plus, Michigan State having more trouble this week, this time with Indiana, and it's at home. Plus, Robert Smith and Butch Davis will join me for No Huddle highlights coming up Outback at the half.
All right, 1st and 10 for the Seminoles from their own 25-yard line.
It's 1st and 10, Florida State, ball on the 25.
2:22 to go in the first half. Seminoles accustomed to playing in close games, especially early. They haven't really blown any of their conference opponents out yet. Out to the 27-yard line. Rod, what do you make of Florida State in terms of the college football playoff and one of those top 4 slots is November 3rd, the date of the first college football playoff rankings coming up?
Well, I think they're staring at a showdown with Clemson, assuming they get by Georgia Tech tonight. And I think the winner of the ACC, if they're undefeated, will be in the playoff. I think if you're a one-loss team out of the ACC, it gets shaky. You're probably going to be left out.
2nd and 9. Wilson with a completion. This is Whitfield. Whitfield with that big speed picks up a few more.
You know, and when we talk about the playoff, we're making assumptions way down the road. I mean, we're thinking maybe the Big 12 has an undefeated team.
Right.
But if the Big 12 has a one-loss champ, the Big 12 is on the bubble. I think the
Why is
SEC,
that? Yeah.
well, because of the weak schedules.
Right.
If you don't play a tough schedule, the committee is going to give you that side look like, hey, why should we put you in the 14 playoff?
After the 9-yard gain, 1st down and 10. Wilson finally decides to take off and pushed out of bounds at the 37. Golson came into the game tonight with 188 consecutive pass attempts without an interception. That streak still alive. He picks up 2 on that run with 1:31 to go in the half.
Georgia Tech has really done a good job defensively of limiting the big plays by the Florida State offense. Florida State's receivers have not been able to get behind defensive backs. They expected to be able to do that with their speed.
It's still a young Florida State team, but sometimes when you're young, you're really talented, like that guy, Dalvin Cook, with a 1st down into Georgia Tech territory, just shy of the 44. Dalvin Cook had a chance to speak recently with former Miami Central grad and current Atlanta Falcon Devontae Freeman, former high school teammates at Miami Central. A pass caught at the 32. Boy, Travis Rudolph took that off his shoe tops of his Nikes.
Well, Golson was under pressure and just had to get rid of it. And Rudolph made a circus catch. I mean, tremendous catch to pull that one up.
Got to take another look at this, Rod.
Behind him and low. Could have been an infielder.
14-yard gain. Quickly down to the 31. Pass complete and a nice open field tackle on Kermit Whitfield at the 27-yard line, limiting that gain to 4. Good tackle by Lawrence Austin.
Clock management right now. You've got a timeout. You're in field goal range. Clock management is critical.
Olsen completes the pass to the 21 to Ermo Lane. Just shy of that 1st down. It looks like he's close to it.
Oh, yeah, they're going to give it to him.
They're going to give it to him, yeah.
Now the clock is going to start once they mark this. I think you want to take a shot here because you don't want to just spike it now. You could, but you got 1 timeout. You got a chance for a couple of plays.
They're going to throw it. Golson burning time on the clock, and there's that left-handed pass. This time incomplete. Ermo Lane, the closest one.
That's not good clock management. Remember, they had a timeout. They had enough time to get a couple of plays in. Now, we've seen the left-handed throw earlier. He gets this out of bounds. But you're in a tough spot. You just lost 12 or 13 seconds. I don't think you can run another play. I think you got to kick it here.
And in comes Aguayo downstairs to Quint first.
Jimbo Fisher calling timeout there to get his field goal team organized. And Aguayo, if you follow college football, you know how accurate this young man is. Watching him in warmups, the distance here is of no concern. He was good in warmups from 52. The coach has seen him hit from more than 60 in practice in the spring game. I did see him, however, push 2 to the right from 50 in warmups. Let's see if he can straighten that out. No wind, ideal conditions tonight for a guy who may be America's best kicker.
Yeah, good point. And Aguayo going to attempt this one from about 38. But Golson's indecision may have cost them an extra play. Jimbo Fisher had some very animated conversations with Jameis Winston last year. I mean, animated, folks. If you saw them, they were very, very pointed.
Sometimes uncomfortable.
Yes.
For viewers.
And Golson starting to get some of those now, too. From 38 yards out, Aguayo. Cash money. And Florida State leading 16-10 after the first 2 quarters of play. Golson speaking with the staff. Stay tuned for our Outback Steakhouse halftime report when Quint will have Coach Fisher. Right now, let's go back to the studio. You're watching the ACC on ESPN here at Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta. Homecoming weekend here at Georgia Tech as they try to snap their 5-game losing streak, but a daunting task in facing number 9 Florida State, who lead 16-10. I'm Mark Jones alongside Rod Gilmore. Quint Kesnick down on the field. We'll be hearing from him in just a bit. Florida State's bell cow all season long has been their star tailback, Dalvin Cook, number 2 in the nation in rushing coming in. But Rod, so far very a pedestrian 63 yards rushing.
Yeah, you know, not unusual for Florida State. They've struggled in the first half of ball games. He only had 63 yards, only 63. But Georgia Tech did a good job of limiting big plays. There were only 3 big plays for Florida State. You know, they did a nice job except for the points off turnover. That really hurt them. 2 turnovers, 10 points for Florida State.
No, you've got people spoiled when you describe 4.8 yards per carry as pedestrian, but that's the high standard that Cook has set coming into the game tonight. Florida State kicking off to begin the second half. Georgia Tech will go on offense here. It'll come out to the 25-yard line, 1st and 10. Let's go down to Quint.
This is exactly where we've been in 4 out of our last 5 losses. That's the words of Paul Johnson as we talked as he was walking out of the tunnel. He said, this is where we've been. And the question is, can we finish this game? I also asked him about the touchdown run. He said they created a numbers advantage on the play side when Justin Thomas scooted off for that touchdown. They did something in their blocking scheme to give them an extra hat on the ball side. Johnson, a masterful guy at making critical adjustments at halftime. He always has a reaction to start the 3rd quarter as to what the defense was doing prior.
That's something that Charles Kelly, the defensive coordinator for Florida State, is well aware of. Marcus Marshall picks up about 7 on 1st down. Remember, Charles Kelly worked for Paul Johnson for several years here at Georgia Tech. There he is on the sidelines.
Yeah, and he knows that Johnson makes the second half adjustments. And remember, in the first half, it was the pitch. It was the 3rd option on the triple option that hurt Florida State at times, not the inside run by the B-back, the fullback.
2nd and 3. Marshall had 150 yards last week. They gave it to him. First man through. Nothing doing. Maybe got a yard. It sets up a 3rd down and 2. And Florida State has had a long time to study. They got here on Thursday, Rod. A little interesting wrinkle, right?
You know, I'm not certain that it isn't a real advantage that helps Florida State. You know, they have this streak of 28 conference wins. They arrive on a Thursday. That's an extra day to be in the opponent's town and get acclimated and get rested, get a good night of sleep on Thursday night. I think that probably helps them.
Georgia Tech, meanwhile, 2 of 6 on 3rd downs. And this will be a conversion. Nice spirited run by Isaiah Willis to pick up the 1st down, a gain of a bunch there. Jalen Ramsey finally making the tackle to stop the gain to 5.
No option there. That's just an old-fashioned toss play to the outside to pick up the 1st down. Now it's worth seeing whether they go back to the triple option or do they start mixing in that counter, that trap play that they used occasionally as a changeup.
Thomas looking over at Johnson on the sideline. Give us to Marshall. Picks up a couple yards inside. That's a 2-yard gain. Lawrence Stample making the stop on the play. So going back to Florida State getting here a day early, overall, it's a bit of a different approach in the big picture of college football, right?
Most schools travel on Friday, arrive on Friday. It's just not in their budget, but Jimbo really believes you get in early, it helps you get acclimated. They take care of their academic advising on Friday, have kids study, but they've got 2 nights to get settled here, and he thinks it really works for them.
And we were going through our interviews on Friday with them. We saw a bunch of players in study hall in front of their laptops. And Justin Thomas stopped up about 4 yards short of the first down by Jacob Pugh. Picked up 6. Remember, Florida State looking for its 29th consecutive conference win. Second longest streak in ACC history.
When you have an athletic program that has been as successful as Florida State, you've got a big budget. You can choose to spend that money for the extra night, the hotel, the food, and the like.
They've got some bells and whistles in their program. 3rd and 4. Marshall in the backfield. The toss into the boundary, and a first down picked up by Clinton Lynch. Got a nice block on the edge from Isaiah Willis. And a 9-yard gain for the first. And Pugh hobbling off the field. From the 46. Thomas kept it, put it on spin cycle, and makes it down to the 40-yard line. Picked up 6 on the play. Stopped by DeMarcus Christmas. They've run it 7 times in a row on this drive, the opening one of the 3rd quarter at Georgia Tech. Thomas initially committed to Alabama coming out of high school. He's an Alabama resident out of Prattsville. Play clock down to 5. Looked like they had a bust in the backfield. And this is what happens when you have a bust against Florida State. No mercy shown. And a flag down at the 43-yard line may have been a face mask. Roderick Hoskins had a hold of that face mask.
Personal foul, face mask, defense, 15-yard penalty.
And they would have had a loss on that, Rod.
Yeah, that's a first down saving play. And that drive might have stalled. Now, I ask you this, Jonesy. Do you even consider going back to your passing attack if you're Georgia Tech, given the 2 picks? You see that was an easy call on Hoskins, 18.
And I'm not sure how much I trust Justin Thomas at this point to throw it.
A couple picks, and I think you're in 4-down territory. I think you keep running. I think you stay away from the option pass down here.
First and 10. They give it to Marshall over the top down to the 23. So when is that time where you catch the DBs and the defense picking daisies, so to speak, back there?
Yeah.
After 9 straight runs now.
Yeah, exactly. You start to not pay attention. But when you get this close to the end zone, I think those daisies are forgotten. You're kind of like, you're honed in right now. You're saying, okay, let me see what's going to happen down here. So I don't think his defensive backs are sleeping out there right now.
2nd and 10. Marshall stopped up. They give it to the dive man, DeMarcus Christmas. Well read. Whatever games they're playing on the interior are working.
You know,
right?
That's a good point. Florida State has changed their front there so that the initial read that Thomas is looking for is not the right read. Instead of it being the defensive end that he's trying to read to see if he's going to take the fullback or not, they've switched. They've got the linebacker stepping in and that end playing out. And so I think that's why he's giving it to the wrong guy there.
Right now, it looks like that Florida State defense is playing chess and Paul Johnson playing checkers. 3rd and 8. 10th play of the drive coming up. And with the play clock winding down, Georgia Tech calls timeout. Every play's been a run so far on this drive. 3rd and long coming up next. I've seen tricycle races, so what's this? Rod, tell us about the reads now on the interior.
Well, we talked about it before, Jonesy. Here is the dive read for Thomas. He's looking there to decide whether to give or keep. So he looks there, freeze. So he says that's an out motion, but he's not paying attention. He doesn't realize that the defensive line has slanted to take the dive. So he makes the bad read there. Now the question is, how does Georgia Tech adjust here? I don't think they'll throw the football. They haven't had enough success.
So that's a specific change by Charles Kelly, the defensive
Absolutely.
coordinator. They're going to pass. Thomas incomplete. Intended for Ricky June. Broken up and almost intercepted by Derwin James. 4th and 8 in the field goal unit coming in for Georgia Tech.
I'm surprised that they threw it on 3rd down. I just didn't think they were having enough success. They've had a tough couple of picks. I thought they'd try and go back to their counter or their triple option. But now a field goal, if they make this, Butker could bring them within 3.
From 40 yards out, Butker gets it right inside that left upright to cut the margin to 3. Timeout on the field when we come back. Dalvin Cook, Dade County's finest, going back to work.
Dalvin Cook's off and running.
Cook is the real deal.
Breaking tackles, there he goes.
Freak show.
94. 74. 72 yards.
As good as any running back in the country.
Welcome back, everyone, to Georgia Tech homecoming weekend. Yellow Jackets trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. And Florida State looking to achieve history with their 29th consecutive conference win. But this game, like many so far this year, a little bit more competitive than anticipated. But remember last week against Louisville, Seminoles able to break the game open with 5 straight touchdowns on 5 consecutive possessions in the second half. This will be the first possession of the 3rd quarter, down to Quint for more on Cook.
Yeah, this is a point in the game where you worry about the hamstring of Dalvin Cook. 3 weeks in a row, that left hamstring has flared up because he's been sedentary. 20-minute halftime and about a 7-minute Georgia Tech drive. You worry about his body temperature dropping and that hamstring getting tight. One other thing I was told from their strength and conditioning staff, when he runs down low with body lean, he's fine. The pressure's on his quads. It's in these games when he stands up in the open field and accelerates that he puts more pressure on that hamstring.
Don't you do that, Quint. Don't you pull anything down there.
Don't leave that hamstring on the sideline there, Quint. Good job. 1st and 10. Olsen surveying the field, and Cook, a good receiver out of the backfield, makes the reception. And no doubt that his grandma, who helped raise him, Miss Betty, watching down there in Miami and sweating out the fact that that hamstring is trying to hold up.
Well, sweat is exactly what they want him to get now. They want to get him lathered up and get him loose and get him some touches early in this 3rd quarter, because Q's right. You know, it's been a long time, and you just can't give him 1 touch here and then wait another 8-9 minutes. You've got to get him going.
2nd and 7. Whitfield in motion. Olsen throws a dart complete to Bobo Wilson, and Wilson goes to that 1st down. He's going to pick it up. And a nice looking throw. Wilson getting open.
Well, I'll ask you and Quint both. We've seen Fournette and Booker the last couple of weeks. Cook tonight. How do you rate him?
Ooh. Tell you what, there's still a long way to go in this game. I'm going to reserve judgment.
Okay.
Because all 3 of those guys hit home runs late in the games that we saw. Booker broke loose late last week in Utah when we saw him, and Fournette did the same at LSU. Pass complete to Whitfield and hit immediately. That's going to be a loss of 1. Did I totally bail out and stay on the fence?
Yeah, that's okay, but I will too. I still think that there is a significant lead for Fournette. And he's a different kind of runner than Cook. Cook is a guy who can get something for you laterally. He probably catches more balls out of the backfield. But when you're talking pure, straight-ahead power and speed, that's Fournette. This guy is close with that, but he's got that lateral movement that is quite unique.
2nd and 11. Golson has made 8 of his last 11. Make that 9 of 12. Complete out to the 40-yard line. Ryan Izzo making the catch. And, you know, back to Cook. His former linebackers coach at, well, the school where he played at Miami Central, the linebacker coach, one Luke Campbell, told me that he's got a younger brother, a freshman at Miami Central, who's going to be better than Dalvin Cook.
Oh, they're lining up now. Oh, the recruiters are lining up now. And the fans are standing up on this 3rd down.
Blitz coming. Golson threads the needle, and it's incomplete. At the 48-yard line, tried to find Rudolph. And there was some pressure coming from Georgia Tech that time. So Ted Roof, the defensive coordinator, dialed up a little bit heat rod.
There you see Jimbo right at him. Now, Jimbo believes when you have a good relationship, you have trust with your quarterback, you can coach him hard.
Yeah, you saw a little pat on the backside there, too.
Yeah. And you saw him grab him by the shoulder pad. Because they trust each other. He knows he can be tough on him.
Well, Jameis Winston knows how that feels. Punt down to the 13-yard line to Jamal Golden. Winston was on the sidelines charting plays for Golson and Jimbo last week. Back after this.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by AT&T, mobilizing your world, and Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy.
Look at the Nissan Heisman House, a pregame fan experience that celebrates college football's most prestigious award. It's on site here at Georgia Tech today, and here's a look at our Heisman hopeful. Rod, what do you make of Dalvin's performance tonight and how he stacks up against the rest?
I think he's still in the hunt there, and he's playing well. Game's not over, and McCaffrey's played his way into this thing.
A big night against UCLA as the give is to Marcus Marshall.
How do you feel about the fact that Georgia Tech, down 3 here, has controlled the ball most of the night?
The time of possession, 22:07 for Georgia Tech and 17:10 for Florida State. Paul Johnson's team has had a lot of near misses. One more symbolic than last week, losing to Pitt on a long 56-yard field goal. Here's Campbell. Marshall in the open field. Marcus Marshall gashes them out to the 40-yard line, a 23-yard pickup.
This is a trap. This is an adjustment. Just watch as you see inside here a good trap block by number 78. Braun, the left guard in there. That trap influenced Florida State to send their men across the line of scrimmage. Trapped them and got a big run out of it.
1st and 10 out to near the 40. Marshall again picks up about 2 as we go back to Chris in the studio.
Got a studio update for you here from the Utah-USC game. Now, Utah had a 14-7 lead. Things went south in a hurry. A pick 6 for the Trojans, who scored 21 straight in a blink. And they have an 11-point lead at the half, guys.
Right back here, it's 2nd and 7. Marcus Allen in the ball game, number 24 for Georgia Tech. With a name like that at running back, you better have some skills.
Absolutely.
Toss though is to Clinton Lynch. Picks up a 1st down and then some. Still on his feet. Lynch lunging. They're going to mark it about the 41. Great effort.
Well, Jonesy, option football means cut blocking, and a good cut block helped get Lynch to the edge. I just want you to keep your eyes out here to the side. Watch what happens outside. You'll see a cut block show up. There's Ramsey 8, cut and put on the ground with a cut block from one of the backs. That is what allows you to get to the perimeter.
It's down in 10. Going to get the first man through, Marcus Allen. Let's get back to the cut block. Why a cut block as opposed to a more conventional block where you stay with your man and drive them?
You know, guys can't tackle if they're on the ground. They can't get in the way, and they can't keep their eyes up and look at where the ball is and where the ball carrier is. They got to look at what you're doing to cut them, and if you don't pay attention to that, you will be ripped to shreds.
You got them thinking a little bit more.
Yep.
2nd down and 7. Between the tackles, it's Marcus Allen putting them in field goal range down to Quint.
Rod, you're a lawyer. I want to present some more visible evidence of cut blocking. Take a look at the thigh pads, the pants of all these Georgia Tech linemen and their A-backs. Grass-stained city. Their equipment manager better have a lot of bleach ready after this game. It's from diving on the ground play after play. Look how green their pants are.
Counselor, strong argument. I'm persuaded.
If the pants fit, you must. Oh, no.
Wow.
3rd and 4.
Last time they had a 3rd down, they threw it.
2 on the play clock.
Oh, man. Here comes the timeout.
We got a tall one.
That's going to hurt them. That is going to hurt them. That is the 2nd time they've blown a timeout because they couldn't get a playoff.
Georgia Tech looking at a 3rd down and 4 and a chance to take their first lead of the ball game against number 9 Florida State. And now let's take a look at this week's college football rankings brought to you by Northwestern Mutual. Well, let's wait on that.
I can tell you about rankings. As far as this game goes, you're Florida State. You're sitting at number 9.
Right.
You're in the hunt. You cannot afford to lose this ball game. You're thinking about a showdown with Clemson in a couple of weeks, and the ACC is going to have an issue if their champion does not remain undefeated.
And the issue being what specifically?
Well, the ACC generally not as highly regarded as other conferences, and the weak schedule's non-conference. Now, the only other conference that has a similar problem in non-conference is the Big 12.
The Northwestern Mutual college football rankings. 3rd and 4 for the Yellow Jackets. Right up the middle for the first down, it's Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen.
And Paul Johnson has deciphered something on the interior again, and now it seems like it's time for Charles Kelly to make another adjustment, Rod.
There are only so many clubs in your bag.
Okay.
You know? There are only so many ways that you can adjust your players on that read.
Since the first quarter, 27 of the last 31 plays have been runs by Georgia Tech. Allen got it again. This time they were sitting on it and waiting for him.
Allen with the carry.
Nadi making the stop, a gain of 1 on the play.
Well, those 2 300-pounders inside, Lawrence Stample 99 and Nadi 91, when they have it going, they make it difficult inside. That allows Kelly to change things up on the reads for the quarterback and the pitch. But those 2 big tackles inside, if they're disruptive, that's a problem for Georgia Tech.
2nd down and 9. The Yellow Jackets driving. I'm winding down in the 3rd. Little reverse pivot by Thomas and nowhere to go. A loss of 2 on the play. The 3rd and long coming up now. That's going to be the end of the 3rd quarter of play with Paul Johnson's team looking to snap its 5-game losing streak, and Florida State looking for its 29th consecutive win against a conference opponent. One of those streaks going to end. Be on the lookout for the Taco Bell student section and passionate fans like these at games all season long. Go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell and learn how you can get to the college football playoff. Back under the lights, 1st down and 10. from the 26 for the Seminoles with a tenuous 3-point lead after that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, a rather debatable one perhaps, against the Yellow Jackets. Dalvin Cook, it was debatable,
You're
Rob.
still mad about that.
I know you're a lawyer, but that was debatable.
All I'm saying is you can't take that chance. You know, you can't try to retaliate in a 3-point game in the 4th quarter. And if the official flags you for it, bad on you.
Yeah, I just saw the Florida State player try to ride him.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely.
Dalvin Cook just had his first rush of the second half. Georgia Tech had the ball for over 12 minutes in the 3rd quarter. This touch to Freddie Stevenson stopped up a couple of yards short of the first down. He picked up 5 on the reception. Well, here's a look at Cook on the last play.
Yeah, well, it's Cook's time, 4th quarter, but watch the end of this. It's like he kind of grabbed his hamstring like, is that a little bit of a problem? We've been watching it all night.
He initially injured that hamstring back in the game against Wake Forest. He hasn't had any rushes, didn't have any in the 3rd quarter. Georgia Tech effectively playing keep away in the 3rd period. Florida State 1 of 6 on 3rd downs, and they're going to call timeout here.
Yeah,
facing a 3rd and 2.
Fisher came on the field again to get that timeout called.
Back after this.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And Miller Lite, back in its original bottle, but not for long. It's Miller time.
NFL Insider Sunday edition, 10 a.m. Eastern time. At 11, it's NFL Countdown with Boomer and the gang. It all starts at 10 on ESPN.
Jonesy,
3rd and 2.
This is a run formation. I formation is heavy run for Florida State.
And if you're Jimbo Fisher, you got to trust number 4, Dalvin Cook. Little play action. Golson open. Great call. First down, Seminoles to Ryan Izzo.
What a nice 4th quarter adjustment for Jimbo Fisher. That I formation in the past has been 100% run. They changed that tendency in the 4th quarter tonight and come up with a big tight end pass reception by Izzo. And all coaches try to save something for the 4th quarter, both on offense and defense.
1st and 10. Looked like a bust in the backfield. Golson close to getting back to a line of scrimmage. Back to Chris in the studio.
Guys, you got to watch this. Ohio State Rutgers. The Buckeyes up 14-0. J.T. Barrett getting the start in this game. First start since the regular season last year. Look at this catch from Braxton Miller. It looks good there. But look at the replay. Oh, number 1 with maybe one of the top catches of the night. Ohio State would score a couple plays later. They're up 21-0.
All right, back here, 2nd and 11. Golson complete to Whitfield, and Whitfield with a first down. Just shy of the 30-yard line, a 15-yard gain. Golson came into the night, had not thrown an interception. Still perfect in that category this year.
You know, you asked earlier, who do you trust? And you said Cook. Well, Jimbo's trusting that man right now, Golson. This 4th quarter, he's turned to Golson to throw it, run it. Picked up a first down now.
Telling me basically those passionate words they exchanged on the sidelines in the 3rd quarter might have inspired his quarterback, or at least gotten them on the same page. Escaping harm, Golson. Nice little pump fake. And runs down to the 22-yard line, so showing a little elusiveness, getting his Dalvin Cook on that time. 7-yard gain.
Look at the difference. You spoke about the exchange they had earlier, and now you see eye to eye. You see that there is some trust between them. Golson seems perfectly fine with everything that's gone on with he and Jimbo. The pats on the back, sometimes the, grab the shoulder pad. Hey, listen to me.
Jimbo Fisher knows how to handle quarterbacks. He chronicled it a moment ago. He's hit 7 of his last 8, and Cook Down to the 22. There's a flag down on the near side of the field, though. Tackle made by Brant Mitchell. With 10:20 to go, Florida State with a slim 3-point advantage. We have Damon Smith injured on the play.
Offsides, defense, number 93. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Well,
that's going to go against Simmons.
Yes, Smith has been banged up a little bit. He was banged up coming into the game. He was going to try and play. You see he got a shot, it looked from behind.
Yeah, a little whiplash. Now, this defense interesting, Rod. Not a lot of takeaways this year for the Yellow Jackets defensively, in stark comparison and contrast to last year, where they had a 26% takeaway ratio last year. That was number one in FBS. And defensive coordinator Ted Roof telling us that that's just the nature of football sometimes.
Happens. Well, what he can take credit for, and his players can, is that they've been good tonight in limiting big plays. I mean, the longest run for Cook is 17 yards. They've taken away the big play, and that's huge against a team that's as explosive as Florida State.
You play defense. Do you try and make it happen sometimes a little too much, or how do you make the turnovers happen?
Absolutely. If you get a chance to, tackle the football, rip it out, you try and do that. Now, when you play more zone than you do man coverage, you got a better chance of getting an interception. It's hard to pick off a ball in man coverage.
1st and 10. Wilson out of the shotgun. Given time. Flag thrown. The pass incomplete to Cook at the 22. Let's see what this flag is about at the 25-yard line, though.
Defended by number 20, Lawrence Austin.
Personal foul, hands to the face, defense, number 96. After this one, automatic
against Gotsis.
Well, it's right in front of you. Hard to miss that. Gotsis 96, 6'5", 288. Hand to the face. They caught that one easily.
He's one of their leaders up front. Incredible athlete at his size, just 6% body fat. One of the most dynamic guys. 1st and goal for the Seminoles.
Here's the I formation. They broke that tendency by throwing last time, but it's generally their heavy run formation.
Cook dotting the I. Here's the stretch zone play. Gets to the edge. Cook brought down at about the 3. Actually, the 4-yard line.
Looks like that was a player down also for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, P.J. Davis. 5-yard gain by Cook.
Davis is another player who we thought might not play tonight. He was a little banged up coming into the game.
Yeah, they had a bunch of guys. I mean, this has been a year where, although they returned some players on defense, it hasn't quite worked out the way that Ted Roof and Paul Johnson would have wanted it to, and had some injuries along the way. As a team, remember, if you're just joining us, they made it to the ACC championship game last year.
Well, and to that point, 2 out of the last 3 years they've been there, and this is a team many people expected to contend for the ACC championship, and right now their 18-year streak of bowl games is in jeopardy.
Let's go down to Quinn.
Guys, it'll be interesting to see what Florida State comes up with. They have struggled in the red zone in the Miami game. It was a big struggle tonight. They've settled for field goals 3 times. One thing you notice from the sideline, they don't have really tall wide receivers for the most part, and that has been a little bit of an issue down around the goal line.
You're right. Whitfield is 5'7", Wilson 5'10". Their biggest guy is Rudolph, who's 6'2", but they've struggled. 53% touchdown percentage coming into this ball game in the red zone, which is awful.
They got Saunders, but he's a tight end and just a freshman. Flags.
Ball start, offense, number 74, 5-yard penalty, second down.
And that's exactly what happened all too frequently for Jimbo Fisher last week in the Louisville game.
He's got a young offensive line. He talked to us about it yesterday. He said, hey, I don't know why some of these guys jump, a little anxiety, just not the maturity of it, and these things happen. Well, 53% in the red zone won't get it done.
2nd and goal, they move it back. Golson, little counter step. Great move. Golson, though, Drilled and brought down at about the 5-yard line by Gotsis, atoning for that earlier error. A 4-yard gain by Golson, and another Georgia Tech player coming up limping and shaken up. It's A.J. Gray this time, a true freshman out of Sandersville, Georgia.
Well, Gray was in for Smith. Wow. And they are losing guys on the back end. Just not good for them at all.
Big drive for Florida State, because if they settle for a field goal, it's still just a 1-possession game. As Gray is being tended to by the athletic training staff. A 3rd and goal coming up for the Seminoles. It's been that kind of season, a litany of injuries for Paul Johnson and Georgia Tech. We're going to take a timeout and come right back. Celebrating its 11th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate making contributions to participating university general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kicked. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds.
Now, Jonesy, A.J. Gray was kicked in the back, the lower right side of his back, and came off the field. Big 3rd down now for Florida State and Georgia Tech.
Cook beside Golson. 3rd and goal. And a flag. Again.
Ball start, offense, number 77, 5-yard penalty.
Like I said, this is a remix of last week against Louisville offensively on the line.
Well, and if Georgia Tech can get a hold here to a field goal, that's a 1-possession game. And keep in mind, Florida State could not get Georgia Tech off the field in the 3rd quarter. They could conceivably chew up 8 minutes on the clock themselves.
Wow.
They had it for 12 minutes in the 3rd quarter.
This time they empty it out. 5 receivers. Golson into the end zone. Popped up, juggled, intercepted. Jamal Golden with a golden pick. It's the first pick of the year for Florida State.
That ball was tipped up in the air by Austin as Golson tried to thread the needle and get the touchdown.
It had to come sometime. This is the first interception.
20. He gets his left hand in there, knocks the ball in the air, and it looks like it bounced off of the knee of Rudolph, and Golden is there for the ricochet. The first pick for Everett Golson this season, and at a terrible time for Florida State. Takes points off the board.
I think he might have been telling his center looked like he was waiting for the snap a little bit longer than he wanted. Regardless, a little over 8 minutes to go, and here comes Justin Thomas keeping it for the first down. Out to the 35-yard line, a 15-yard gain. And Bobby Dodd Stadium is alive. Thomas keeps it, but they crash down on him at the 35-yard line. That was Nadi making the stop on the play. You know, in a season when some of the balls have bounced the wrong way and Lady Luck hasn't exactly been on their side, that ball was juggled and caught by Georgia Tech. They finally literally caught a break.
And number 9 is in trouble, Florida State.
On 2nd and 10. They gave it to the first guy through, Marcus Marshall, out near the 40-yard line. It'll be 3rd down. gained about 5.
And this is the dangerous down for Georgia Tech. They've proven all night throwing on 3rd and 5 and plus is a problem for them. Will they go to it here? I've felt all along that they just needed to live and die with their option instead of throwing on 3rd down. It just hasn't worked out tonight. 2 picks already.
Marshall in the backfield. He's the closest they've got to a game breaker there. They run the toss to Willis, and you're not going to outrun Florida State to the edge like that. Good tackle by Elliott.
How about that play?
Wow.
Elliott smelled it completely, defeated the blocker. He makes this play by himself. Watch the top of the screen. 14 takes on the block, gets his shoulder lower, blows through it, and makes the tackle.
That goes on the highlight clip, right?
Absolutely. That is huge.
And the punt from Rodwell. Fair catch called at the 21-yard line by Jesus, a.k.a. Bobo Wilson, on the 44-yard punt. No return. He's a little shaken up. Florida State football when we come back. Hey, if you want to watch college football on the go, just download the Watch ESPN app or go to watchespn.com. Catch everything live. Like we saw that Michigan State ending last week in Salt Lake City.
Thank goodness. If we hadn't had the app, we would have missed that.
First and 10 for the Seminoles in the wake of Everett Golson's first interception thrown this year. On the last drive, flags down. The Seminole offensive line has had some issues on the last drive with penalties and false starts. Cook on the carry, meanwhile.
Illegal formation against the offense. 5 men in the backfield, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Boy, there have been an inordinate amount of self-inflicted wounds by Jimbo Fisher's team here in the 4th quarter.
Young team, still learning, still growing, and you hope, if you're a Florida State fan, you can play through this and still not have it cost you a game in your number 9 ranking. But that is still to be determined tonight.
Florida State trying to stay undefeated on the season. Golson's pass dropped by Ryan Izzo. A little bit behind him, but hit him in the hands. Sets up 2nd and long.
Let's go back to what you talked about. Who do you trust? We have youngsters. Izzo's a redshirt freshman. Missed that one. They tried going into the end zone before. Youngsters. Now, do you go back to the old guy that you trust, the sophomore who's been through the wars already in Cook?
Got to give him a shot here. Hasn't had a lot of touches in the second half. They're going to pass it to the edge. That's Whitfield with that sprinter speed, and I mean sprinter speed. He has a personal best of 10.21 in the 100 meters. That's world class. Meanwhile, tonight, look at the numbers for Dalvin Cook.
Give credit to that Georgia Tech defense.
And offense holding onto the ball, right?
Yeah, that 3rd quarter stands out. 12 minutes and 15 seconds. Florida State stood on the sidelines and watched Georgia Tech with the football in the 3rd quarter.
Cook in the backfield beside Golson on 3rd and 3. They fumble it. The play blows up. And 4th down coming up. Freeman in there to pressure Golson for insurance. They're going to ask whether it was grounding or not. There's a flag down.
Personal grounding against the offense, number 6. 4th down.
Well, Jonesy, remember, for grounding, or to avoid grounding, you have to get outside the tackle box, and that ball has to get beyond the line of scrimmage. I don't think it got beyond the line of scrimmage.
It's 4th down.
4th down coming up. Didn't look like he was expecting the snap.
Yeah, there was a mistimed snap there, not on the same page, and now all of a sudden, you only took a minute off the clock, and Georgia Tech will get the ball back.
Beatty punting from his own goal line. They came after him, and he responds with a bullet all the way back to the 33. Golden brought down at the 36-yard line. A 3-yard return after a fantastic 52-yard clutch punt. Well, tonight at 10:30 on ESPN, we've got Washington and number 10 Stanford in a Pac-12 tilt. Kevin Hogan and Christian McCaffrey leading the Cardinal against the Huskies in Stanford. And McCaffrey broke Toby Gerhardt's single-game rushing record with 243 last game.
Yeah, he'll be a marked man tonight. And the last time we saw Washington, they were knocking off USC.
Yeah, USC in a battle tonight against Utah. 1st and 10. Georgia Tech with a chance here with 4:25 to go to snap that 5-game losing streak. Play action. Thomas has a man. Incomplete. Great hit on Clinton Lynch to jar the ball loose.
That's
what
the
a
freshman.
stick by Derwin James.
That is the freshman we talked about earlier. 6'3", 212 pounds. He was a highly rated recruit coming out of high school. Everybody wanted him, chose Florida State, and he has become a big-time player back there, and they needed him in light of the injuries they've had in the secondary.
That's why you need 5-star recruits.
Got that right.
They make plays. 2nd and 10. The give is to Marshall, the first man through on that triple option. What kind of grade would you give Florida State at this point handling that 3-card Monty shell game triple option?
I think they've done a good job, you know, but for the 60-yard touchdown run by Thomas, they've pretty much kept it in check. Now, I think Georgia Tech, you might have 2 downs here. I don't know that they can kick the ball away if they don't get this and get it back and get something done.
3rd down coming up. Thomas is 2 of 8 passing on the night for 37 yards and a couple of picks. They run it. The toss a little bit late and well played defensively as Lance Davis is brought down for no gain on the play.
Here's your dilemma, Jonesy. You only have 1 timeout. You wasted 2 timeouts because you couldn't get to the line of scrimmage. You kick this ball away, you probably get nothing. You get the ball, you don't get the ball back. You're an option team. I think you have to go here.
This might be the game for Georgia Tech. Need to convert on 4th and 5, needing to get to the 47. They're going to throw. Thomas has a man open. 1st down. Brad Stewart with the biggest play of the night for Georgia Tech.
Florida State tipped the blitz. Thomas rolls away from it, and they work on the freshman James, the guy who made the big hit earlier. They get him this time. He snuck up a little bit, and they got behind him.
A 36-yard gain down to the 23-yard line. 1st and 10. 1 timeout remaining for Georgia Tech. A field goal ties it, and this is Marshall. Do you play it a little conservative here, or what do you do if you're Paul Johnson?
Well, pardon the pun, but you have options. You have options because you've got a field goal in your back pocket right now. You are an option running team. There's no reason to do anything crazy and throw the ball. Run your option. You can run your counter, but you can't lose yardage. You've got 3 points in your back pocket here.
They caught Derwin James perhaps napping on that last play. Was that the dandelion scenario? Did they catch him sleeping?
He was a little bit eager. He came up to make a play, and they got behind him.
On 2nd and 9, they toss it to the edge and run down well that time is Lance Davis by DeMarcus Walker. 3rd down after the gain of 2. Nose of the ball resting just shy of the 20-yard line. Florida State over the last couple of years, albeit a different cast this year, used to playing in close games like this.
I'm not throwing it here, buddy.
3rd and 7?
Not throwing it. I got 3 points in my back pocket. I can't take a sack. I can't have a pick. Trust your option.
Thomas only has 3 completions tonight, but the last one was vital. He keeps it. Well, you're right. They didn't try and throw it. He's pushed out of bounds. They're going to mark it at the 18. Josh Sweat was there to push him out, along with Jacob Pugh, a gain of 2. Fourth down coming up, and in comes the field goal unit led by Harrison Butker. Butker tonight has already made a couple.
Jonesy, we talked about it earlier, the fact that 28 win streak for Florida State, an 18-game bowl streak on the line for Georgia Tech. They won a postseason game.
From 35, Fisher doesn't try to ice him, and he drills it.
Field goal is good.
The big play of the drive was that completion to Brad Stewart for 36 yards. This was the game saver.
Yeah, Stewart got behind the freshman James. Little wheel route. Ball dropped right in there. Good catch. And that set things up. You saw the wheel route there. James came flying up to try to make a play. Stewart just wheeled out behind him down the sideline, and a perfectly thrown ball by Thomas, who'd been struggling all night in the passing game, came up with a big one there.
Let's flip the script now and talk about Florida State. Remember, they've got a real dangerous kickoff return man in Kermit Whitfield, who had that 100-yard kickoff return in the national title game against Auburn a couple of years ago. There he is, number 8. He too with world-class speed. I'm talking about 10.2 speed in the 100 meters. Now, do you kick it away from him? And if you don't, Florida State still with a little bit of time, 54 seconds, 2 timeouts.
I don't kick it to him. There you go, kick it out.
This one will come out to the 25-yard line. 1st and 10 for Everett Golson, who had a dubious first tonight with his first interception thrown of the season. Well, after tonight's Pac-12 showdown, stick around for SportsCenter at night. Catch all the highlights and news from a busy day in college football. SportsCenter at night kicking off right after Washington and Stanford on ESPN and streaming live on Watch ESPN.
Well, Jonesy, you're Florida State. You've got 2 timeouts. You have a veteran quarterback, a 5th-year guy who transferred in. He's played in the national championship game. You've trusted him tonight. You know your kicker can make about a 50, 54-yard field goal.
1st and 10. Dalvin Cook going to pick up about 2 on the play, brought down by Adam Gotsis. You know, we should have expected this. Last 5 games in this series have been decided by a total. That's a total of 17 points. Averages out to about a field goal.
Including that ACC championship game last season.
We got a player shaken up on the field. It's one of the Florida State offensive linemen, Kareem R.
He just came back.
He sure did. The young offensive lineman still establishing a little bit of chemistry out there. He's one of the upperclassmen. Well, he got rolled up on.
Yeah, to the right of your screen. He gets rolled up on that left leg. That's really, really sad to see. He just got back to the lineup tonight.
2nd down and 8 coming up now for Florida State. 41 seconds to go. Their perfect undefeated record at stake right now, in peril. And they call a timeout. So they give it to Dalvin Cook on 1st down and pick up a couple of yards.
You know, you've got time. 41 seconds.
Right.
You know that if you get to we need about the 37-yard line if you're Florida State. That's where you got to get to have a reasonable shot at a field goal. Given the speed you have on the outside, that's not the issue. It's about being smart with the football and using that timeout when you need to.
Movetti, number 55, in on the offensive line, and they find a gaping hole for the 1st down beyond the 35 to the 36 with 36 seconds to go.
They're playing for overtime?
You know what? Cook is a home run hitter. So I say no. I mean, that's a good call, right?
Yeah, well, you know, you're going to need about a 30-yard pass here sooner or later to have a shot, and you got the 1 timeout.
Out of the shotgun, Golson fires it Low and incomplete behind Whitfield. 2nd and 10 with 27 seconds to go.
2nd down and 10, ball on the 36.
You need 25 yards.
Roberto Aguayo has a career long of 53 as he watches from the sidelines. Will he get an opportunity? That's the question that begs. On 2nd and 10. Olsen dumps it to Cook. Got a couple blocks, still on his feet. And close to range with 20 seconds to go at the 42.
Clock will stop with the 1st down, but you can clock it now and stop it and then save your timeout.
So they spike it, as you said, Rod. And look, you see they're about 5 yards short of field goal range. Mind you, Jimbo Fisher said that Aguayo can knock one through from 60.
Yeah, but I think what you can do here, you've got enough time. You've got a timeout. You need another 6 or 7 yards to actually feel somewhat comfortable that your kicker feels good about it. You know he's made a 53-yarder.
Florida State looking for their 29th consecutive conference win to tie a record. Looking to stay unbeaten and improve to 7-0. And be a player in the college football playoff.
You have the timeout. You can use the entire field here.
And Georgia Tech going to call timeout.
Georgia Tech, 3rd and final timeout. 30-second timeout.
Wants to talk things over. Let's go downstairs to Quint.
Yeah, more on Aguayo. Their ultra reliable field goal kicker. He has never missed a 4th quarter kick in his career between PATs and field goals, about 59 kicks. Spring game, he hit a 63-yarder. Coach told us, as you said, he's good from 64 to 65. Now, I saw him hit from 52 in this direction in warm-up. I also saw him push the ball right twice from 50. So, you know, any yardage here is a big plus.
Yeah, you know, Quint, those numbers in the 4th quarter, that spells clutch.
Yeah, well, this would be a 60-yarder from right here. And if I'm a defensive back right now, I'm not giving him the 5, 7, 8-yard catch. If they want to take the chance and throw it deep, I'll take that gamble right now. But I'm not giving up a 7, 8-yard catch.
You don't want to take a sack if you're Golson, and a flag, an egregious, pejorative penalty against Florida State. Incredibly, that is I'm counting 4, Rod, on that offensive line here in the 4th period alone.
Just anxiety. It is a young offensive line. They have 8 freshmen and sophomores that they play up front. Just youngsters.
Still 16 seconds on the clock. No time expired. Golson fires, and they get it down to the 38-yard line. Wilson with the catch. 10 seconds to go, and they burn a timeout. From here,
55, 56.
Yep. 38-17. Yeah, that's a 55-yarder. Within his range. Do you run one more play here and then trot him out?
No. It's too risky. Think about this. If you run a play and you don't get out of bounds, you got a problem. You won't even get the attempt. Right now, you know you have an attempt. Now, this tells you something about how much Fisher trusts Golson. If he runs a play here, he really, truly believes that Golson will quickly make that decision and get rid of the ball and not take a sack.
What kind of play fits that profile?
It can only be, it's got to be a sideline. It's got to be an out.
Okay.
You got to get rid of it quickly.
Let's see what they run.
If you get a 1st down, there's no guarantee you can actually get the clock stopped and get your field on the team.
You got to get down, right?
Yeah.
You got to assume that his receivers got that message too. On 3rd and 6, Golson throws to the sideline, incomplete. So now Aguayo will presumably get his opportunity. Rudolph, the intended receiver, it appeared to hit him in the hands, and a look at Aguayo, Roberto Aguayo, the 6'1" junior, has never missed a fourth quarter kick. This will be a 56-yarder. His career long is from 53, from the left hash, to remain unbeaten, and perhaps a player in the college football playoff and the 29th consecutive conference win. Blocked, snuffed, rubbed out, erased. And Georgia Tech with an opportunity. Austin still on his feet. One man. You can't believe what just happened. What a time to be alive. Lance Austin recovered the loose block and scampered, bolted, escaped, eluded every Seminole on the pitch. 78 yards for the winning touchdown. When you think you've seen it all, you really haven't. Let's go downstairs to Quint with Coach.
Coach, how do you best explain that last play?
Well, it was our turn. We've had so many this year that have gone the other way. I'm just so proud of our guys. They fought and fought and fought. We made a lot of mistakes, but we fought the whole game and came back, found a way.
What was the mindset of the team? You lose 5 straight. This game starts kind of going bad late.
It's just a great opportunity. You've got a top 10 team in your house. Go out and have some fun and play hard, and our guys did that.
What do you think made the difference in the fourth quarter?
I don't know. Our whole team played well. Defensively, we played the run so much better.
What about this scene, Coach? What's this like for you?
That's what it's all about. That's college football.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Quint. And Rod, it's like Coach Johnson said, it was our time. Previously, these kinds of scenes have gone the other way. And let's take one more look. This is the first fourth quarter miss ever by Aguayo, the field goal kicker.
Well, just start with the notion of it being a heads-up play, that the Georgia Tech players were all in and just didn't celebrate. That ball gets picked up and brought back, but watch the block. And it's not just Austin returning. Watch the block down here by Chris Milton, number 6. That really kind of opened up the way at the end. You got 8, 9 Georgia Tech players all invested in that last play instead of just celebrating the block. They were trying to win the game. That's the mark of a winner. That's a team that's been frustrated by being 2-5, looking at possibly not making a bowl game, and they knocked off the top 10 team.
Paul Johnson seemed to be just waving off Austin, saying just get down or something, and then he kind of backed up. Did you see that?
Yeah.
No, keep going, son. Keep going.
Yes. Wow.
And what a scene here at Bobby Dodd Stadium. An improbable, implausible, unbelievable ending in Florida State's first loss of the season.
What did we say earlier? When you shake a hornet's nest, no telling who might get stung.
And the Seminoles got stung tonight. What an ending. 22-16, Yellow Jackets win it against the Seminoles. Coming up next, it's College Football Scoreboard. For Rod Gilmore and Quint Kessenich, I'm Mark Jones. Folks, thanks for watching. As I said earlier a moment ago, what a time to be alive. Good night from Atlanta.